Thank you very much once again. And then today we are going to look at Life Sciences Grade 10. So this is Grade 10, and ensure that you are seeing that this is a 24 latest revision booklet. Please listen these to the end of the module. So this will cover all the term for work. And then under Life Sciences, we are saying please hit the subscription button and ensure that you are sharing to those who are concerned. It can be your classmates and it can be your friends and families. Ensure that you are also giving out the information. Without wasting any time, grade 10s, I want you to see you in grade 11. Ensure that you are listening to this. And on our comment section, you are also accepted. And the term 4 module that we are going to do now, we talk about remember that we have discussed previously the importance of the biodiversity that must be maintained throughout the habitat. And these biodiversity, they are classified. When something is classified, it means it is in different form. There's this class, there's the other class, there's 10A, there's 10B, there's 10C. So these are the classification of the biodiversity. These exist on Earth. So we are saying the form of life that exists on Earth, that is biodiversity. Point two, the it does it can, in this instinct, you can see that it originates. So we must exist two kingdom systems. Number one, system we're based. So something that is a physical your naked eye is complex. When something is a Swedish botanist Carl into two kingdoms. The plantae, it means the plants. So we are saying this, it is plantae. And animalia, which is the living organisms caring about the plantae, and these developed classifications under each kingdoms are used. So under this then, and then a kingdom is divided into the phyla in animals, but divisions in plants. So this is the history of life now. See that the table, it shows the babes. And then we are saying this entry. Under this, we've got these 7 division, and they are known as number 1, the kingdom, the phylum, or division, the class, the order, the family where they derive, in which family, and the genus in terms of the genes that they carried. And then we've got the species in terms of which species. And then under this, we've got the 2 classification, which are known as the lion and the pine tree. And then the kingdom now of the lion is Animalia. And then of the pine tree, it is plantae. It is a plant and it is an animal. That is the kingdom. The phylum or the division, it is the chordata. And the pine tree, it is Pteropodia. The class now here, or in terms of the division, the class is lion, it is mammalia. These are mammals. Remember that mammals, they breastfeed. And the pine tree, it is the gymnospermae. The order now in terms of the division, the lion is a carnivora, which is the carnivore. And the pine tree, it is the coniferales. The family of now, it is the Felidae, while the pine tree derives from the Pinaceae. The genus from the lion, it is the Panthera, and the pine tree, the Panas. The species, it is the Leo, and the pine tree, it is the Ponderosa. So you need to understand this concept very well. Very, very important. All right. And then if ever we are moving on again, some other important aspect of work. And then in 2.2, we are saying the 5 kingdom systems. Now, we are saying these are the most common classification system. The 5 kingdom system was proposed. It means it was done first by Robert Whittaker. You need to know Robert Whittaker in 1969. He said that the main are the living organism. They are clustered or they are separated into there is a organisms. Number 2, we are having the protista. Number 3, we have the fungi. Number 4, we've got the plantae. And number 5, we've got the animalia, which is the animals. And then under this, if ever we are moving on again, we've got to see that the naming of living organisms, we are saying that the Carl Linnaeus designed the binomial system for naming of organisms. So these organisms was named in terms of the binomial. The first word of the name is the genus, and the second word is the species. The genus name is written with a capital letter and the species with a small letter. Example, the Panthero Leo. So we can see that the Leo, it is in small letter, while the Panthero, it is in capital letter, which is the genus. If the name is written by hand, the genus and the species names are underlined. For example, the Panthero Leo, it is typing the name. The whole name is typed in italics. You've got to change your computer into italic system in the Panthero Leo as an example. And then in 2.4, we have the biological example. It is a dichotomous key, is an instrument used to classify the living organisms. So what is key? It is the dichotomous key. You need to understand this is the instrument that classify now these living organisms. And then we are saying the dichotomous key always give 2 choices at each step. Number 3, at each step, 2 statements are given based on the characteristics of the organism. And then if ever we are moving on, if the right option is chosen at each steps, it will lead to the name of the organism. We need to understand that concept very well. All right. And then if we are to move on again, we are to see that this import here in 2.2.4.1, these are the examples of the dichotomous keys. Number 1, we are having an A, 3 pairs of legs that are present. We are saying that is an insecta, which is an insect. Number B, we've got more than 3 pairs of legs. They are known as to go to 2. Number 2, we've got 4 pairs of legs that are present. It is the arachnidia. And then more than 4 pairs of legs. Number 3, we are having 2 pairs of the antennae present. We are seeing number B, we are having 1 pair of the antennae present. It is known as the go-to 4. Number 4, the antennae branched at the tip. It is the Paropoda. B, the antennae unbranched. It is go-to 5. Okay, so can you see the steps? They keep on increasing. And then number 5, we are saying that 2 pairs of legs on each body segment. And number B, 1 pair of legs on each body segment. It is go-to 6. Number 6, we have 12 pairs of legs present. Eyes absent, that is a sympholia. And more than 12 pairs of legs present. This is the chilopoda. So you need to understand those keys. They are very, very important. Okay, under this, we've got to understand the key concept based on it can say in the examination, list the differences or tabulate the differences between the prokaryotes and the eukaryotes. So we are saying that if ever you can construct a table, understand that you can get a mark. Don't forget that. And then under the prokaryotes, we are having the organisms with cells with no true nuclei. So we have understood the concept of the nucleus. And number 2, the genetic material. Okay, the difference is that in the eukaryotes, we are saying that the eukaryotes, they are having organisms with cells that have true nuclei. And then the prokaryotes, their genetic material or the DNA is not enclosed by the nuclear membrane and occurs free in the cytoplasm material, or DNA is enclosed by the nuclear membrane and it occurs free in the cytoplasm. And then we are having the prokaryotes. We are saying it does not have true organelles that occur in the cytoplasm. And in the eukaryotes, the true organelles, they occur in the cytoplasm. Why in the cytoplasm? Because of there is a presence of the water molecule and the fluid that are happening. And then we are having Monera prokaryotes under And then we are saying in the eukaryotes, we are having the protista, fungi, plantae, and animalia are the eukaryotes. So you need to understand that concept better. All right. And then if ever we are moving on again, we need to understand the main group of organisms. So we have understood that the kingdom is the major, and then we are saying that it is distinct or is differentiated into 5, which is the Monera, bacteria, protista, fungi, plantae, which are known as plants, animalia, which are known as the animals. So we are going to look at the feature in terms of the characteristics and the examples. Under the Monera, which is the bacteria, we are saying these are the prokaryotes. They are single-celled, unicellular microorganisms. They take place. The heterotrophic and the autotrophic, they are asexual reproduction is happening. And then the protista, we are saying this is eukaryotes. They are most unicellular, but some are multicellular, something that is multi, more than one, and they are heterotrophic or they are autotrophic. They are usually in asexual reproduction. Some reproduce sexually. And then this is eukaryotes. Some are unicellular, but they are heterotrophic and are the sexual reproduction. Some they reproduce sexually. And then we've got the plantae, which is the plant. We are saying these are the eukaryotes. The plants are the autotrophic. Asexual reproductions by means of the spores is taking place, or the sexual reproduction by means of the gametes. Remember, the gametes are the sex cells. And then in animalia, we've got to look at the characteristics, and we have to conclude that this is the eukaryotes. They are multicellular. They don't have the cell wall. Animals are heterotrophic. They reproduce in sometimes they are asexual, but most asexual by means of the gametes. All right. And then we have to go with the examples. And for the bacteria, example is the bacteria. And number 2, we have said that for the protista, it is the protozoa or an algae, slim molds and water molds that you would see that under the water. And then for fungi molds, under plantae, we've got the mosses, ferns, conifers, flowering plants. Okay. And under the animalia, these are the example, these sponges, jellyfish, flatworms, roundworms, earthworms, and then insects, spiders, mammals, and etc. So you need to understand this table, right? And then if ever we are moving on again, we've got to understand some other key concept whereby we are talking about the history of life on Earth. Remember that these led to the changes in the composition of the atmosphere. The more density of people are, the more oxygen is going to be required. And we are saying when the Earth is formed, oxygen levels in the atmosphere were very, very low. Then we understood that the fossil records show that the living organisms, which it can be people, plants, and animal prokaryotes, were anaerobic. An example, they did not need oxygen to survive, which appeared, and they use carbon dioxide in the atmosphere and releases oxygen. An example, they could produce their own food through photosynthesis. And we've got to understand that photosynthesis, it happens when the tree produce their own food in terms of the presence of the sunlight, water, carbon dioxide, and oxygen. Let us understand that the levels of oxygen started to increase in the atmosphere, and the anaerobic organisms, they started to develop. And lastly, we are saying the increase in oxygen resulted in an increased variety of organisms on Earth. So these are the key concepts that we need now to understand. All right. And then if ever we are moving on again, we are to see that we are having some other. And under this page, we've got the changes in the climate. What is happening? We need to understand this concept. Under this concept, we need to know that the climate will change, and an example, it can be the ice age. And an ice age, remember, what does it mean? It is a long geological period of the drastic, the word drastic, it means it is happening too much. The drastic decrease in temperature of the Earth's surface and the atmosphere. Many species they die out during the ice ages, and some migrated to warmer areas on Earth. And then we have to understand when the ice forms the level of land. The ice ages therefore affected the life on Earth due to extinction. So the word extinction, when the organism is no more, and the redistribution of species. And redistribution, it means the species would move on different areas of the world. We are referring to that as the jurisdiction area, the point of demarcation. That is the habitat, the geological events. So in terms of the time it has moved, we must understand the theory of the continental drift. There was a drift that happened in the continent. It proposed that the Earth continent moved and are still moving slowly. About 250 millions of years ago, all continents were joined to form one large continent. All these continents, they were joined here to form the large continent called the Pangaea. The Pangaea eventually broke up into the supercontinents. An example, the Laosia in the north and the Gondwana land in the south. So there was a drift, and then there was a geographical isolation in terms of the species which lived there. These two supercontinents eventually broke up further into the continents that we know today. By means of geography, the evidence has been found that the continents were once joined. Bibliography is the study of, at the present day, distribution of the organism. All right. And then here, these are the studies of the organisms showing the movement of the continents. So you see, this is the Pangaea, and it has moved in terms of the continent, going to the Laurasia and the Gondwana land. And then number 3, it has moved the Gondwana land. And then you can see number 4. So we are creating this geographical isolation in terms of the species that are living or that were living before, right? And then under this, we must understand the geological time scale. And then according to the scientists, estimates are that the Earth is about 4.6 billions of years ago old. And then into 3 main eras, which is the Paleozoic, the Mesozoic, and the Quinozoic eras. So this is the time frame of the timeline. And the era in the Cenozoic, the period, it is the Quaternary. It happens 2 million of years ago. And here we must understand that here the plants and animals are more than humans, more than mammals, that derive from the species which they evolve, they change over time, they become better. And then that there is an extinction, this regard to the absence of the mammals. And examples, there was mammothons before, but they have been again tertiary, which we are saying that it happens 65 millions of years ago. And then these are the birds, mammals, and the insect and other primates as apes. Then we are having the Mesozoic. And remember that these plants and animals, they keep on evolving, they keep on becoming better. We are having the period, it is called the Cretaceous, and it happens 1 years ago. The animals and plants, they extincted of the dinosaurs. Remember, once upon they were involvement, the dinosaurs were living, and then the plants, the flowering plants, they spread out due to the isolation. And then we've got the period, which is called the 90 to 140. The dinosaurs were dominant, and the first birds, they evolved, they had to fly. And then we are having here the Triassic. It happens 250 millions of years ago. We saw the first dinosaurs, the first mammals, and the first gymnosperms that are dominant in plants. And then number 3, we are having the Paleozoic, and we are having the time which is called the Permian. Remember that is important to know these times. And then it happens 280 to 250 millions of years ago. And there was an increase in reptiles. Remember that reptiles, they don't have a backbone, and the gymnosperms were present. And then we've got the Carboniferous. It happened 350 to 280 millions of years ago, and there's an increase in amphipods, and the first reptiles, they were found. The ferns, they dominated during that era. And then we had the Devonian. It happened 400 to 350 of years ago. The first insects was been found, and the first amphibians were found. We are having the Silurian, and it happens in 435 millions of years ago, and the first plants and animals on the land, and they are mosses. And then if ever we are moving on again, we have to see that we are having the Ordovician, and it happens 515 to 435. That is an algae plant that is dominant. We are having the Cambrian, which transpired 5 severe explosion of the most animal groups, the first vertebrate and the first invertebrate. So when we are talking about the vertebrate with regard to animals with the backbone, and invertebrate, these are the animals without the backbone. Please listen up until to the end of the module. Era, and it happened in 4,600 to 570 years ago, and we happened to find the rights and the Prokaryotes, and the first invertebrates, they were being found. You need to very well. And then if ever we are moving on, we must understand now the Cambrian explosion. So we are saying the Cambrian explosion. Early in the days, the forms of the most animal groups appeared in the Cambrian period. And the Cambrian explosion, it refers to, for 2 marks, the diversity of all forms of life appeared in a relatively short period of time. Then we are having the mass extinction. The word mass, it means the density is more of the extinction. And then we are saying the mass extinction occurs when many species disappear over the same period of time. Number 2, there have been 5 mass extinctions throughout the history, 2 of which are particularly important. The extinction of about 90%, according to the statistics, of all life on Earth, which is 250 millions of years ago, and the extinction of many species, including the dinosaurs, in 65 millions of years ago. And the present time has been called the 6th extinction because of the negative effect of humans on the environment. So let us ensure that we are conserving our environment, because of we don't want species to disappear, to be extincted. Under this, we must understand again the key concept. We talk about the formation and the methods of dating. This is not a dating site in terms of the relationship, a romance. And then we are saying here we are dating a fossil is a complete organism, or the remains, imprints, or traces of an organism that usually preserved in rocks. Fossils are mainly found in the sedimentary rocks. And sedimentary rocks is formed when the clay and the sand particles are carried from one place to another by water and wind. So the sedimentary rocks, they develop between 2 particles when they are carried over thousands of years. These sediment piles up, they harden, and they form sedimentary rocks. And the fossils are also found in trees, raisins, ice, and the volcanic lava. Okay. And then if ever we are moving on, let us talk about the ideal condition for the fossil formation, which is called the fossilization, how the fossils are forming. Remember, we've got different types of fossil fuels, which can be the coal, and they form over millions of years ago over the date or the remains. We are saying under this, the organisms must be buried immediately after it dies. The condition in the sediments needs to be acidic and contain no oxygen. The organism needs to have made hard parts of the exoskeleton, shell, teeth, and etc. So once we are burying these die out, that is when we form fossil fuel over the millions of years ago, millions of years to come. And then let us understand the formations of the fossils in the sedimentary rock. One of the key concepts is that the plants or the animals die out rapidly covered with sedimentary rock. The soft tissues, they decay with the help of the bacteria and the microorganism. Hard body parts, they remain, and organic material is hardened or replaced by minerals and more layers of the sedimentary cover. The dead animal of plants, the sediments hardens and the layers become compressed and form sedimentary rock. And then we are having the fossil dating, and this refers to the age of the fossil. So we are trying to determine how long the fossil have been extinct, have been come to life, and how long can it take to develop. And then it can be determined by using these two methods, which is called, number one, the radiometric method, and the dating and the relative dating methods. Thank you very much for choosing this opportunity and sharing to those who are concerned. Thank you very much for your time.